Good afternoon, class. I hope you're all keeping safe. Today I will be presenting the art of courtship and dating. At this age, many of us tend to have the wrong idea of dating, so I hope you learn something that you can use in your future relationships. The information that I have gathered for this topic was from a Catholic speaker, Jason Everett. He goes around to high schools and colleges to talk about chastity and how to properly date. He has many YouTube videos that anyone can access online, and he also has a website called chastity.com where you can learn all about this. The main idea throughout his multiple videos is to maintain stable relationships and have a successful marriage, you must practice chastity and get to know your significant other to the deepest meaning. The first main point mentioned by Jason Everett, which is also the beginning of a relationship, is to enjoy being single. I'm sure many of you are thinking right now that enjoying being single means to go out and get reckless hooking up with many people, but this could not be more wrong. Enjoying this time being single means to take your time getting to know who you plan on dating. Nowadays, relationships tend to get too tense way too fast. Just make sure you take your time. Find out who their friends are. You are who you hang out with, so how their friends act may be similar to how they will act. Find out how their exes feel after they've broken up. If they are still close friends, or do their breakups end in emotional divorces? How do they treat members of the same gender in their families? If they treat them disrespectfully, then you may get the same treatment. How do their parents get along? If there is constant fighting, then maybe they'll think it's normal for their families to be in constant fights, and that'll end up happening in your family as well. Essentially, get to know everything. Make sure you respect each other's moralities. By doing all this, you develop a connection with the souls, instead of the physical bodies, which wouldn't last as long. Developing the relationship of the souls is how you develop agape love. You understand that it is an act of the will, you will self-sacrifice, you'll never put the other at risk, and you'll love them unconditionally, not for their character, but for other things that are attributed to them. The media is always portraying being friends before a relationship as something bad. These two tweets I found on the internet explain how fast people resort to physical attraction and immediately want to have intercourse before developing a real connection between the souls. I'll give you a minute to read this. Absolutely disgusting if you ask me. The second point made by Jason Everett was to understand the purpose of dating. The main goal when dating is to find a spouse. When you begin to date someone, there are only two exits: breakup and marriage. So to date to break up is wrong. Choosing your future wife is not a decision you want to take lightly. You must listen to the wisdom of other people, because when you think you are in love, you tend to block out some flaws in the other person because you think they are perfect. You must listen to your parents, friends, overall just people who love you, because they want what is best for you. As well, be prepared to fire people from this job of being in a relationship. Sometimes your judgment can be wrong, so you must fix your mistake of choosing the wrong person you're with by breaking up with them. When finding your future spouse, you need to find someone who will help you fulfill your purpose in life, to get to heaven, get others to heaven, and to know, love, and serve God. Once married, you and your spouse are to procreate. This quote from the Catechism of the Catholic Church explains why we are to procreate after marriage. Men and women were made for each other. In marriage, God unites them in such a way that by forming one flesh, they can transmit human life. Be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth. This was found on paragraph 372. By being fruitful and multiplying with your spouse that you love unconditionally, you are successful in the married life that God has chosen for you. The final point from Jason Everett is to not look out for love, but to look within. To be able to be in a relationship, you must clean yourself from the bad things that would be cancer/toxic in a marriage. A main example of this is a porn addiction. Having a porn addiction is the worst thing you could have. It creates this lens of only being able to see people as objects instead of human beings. Having this distortion of reality creates this wall of being able to connect to someone on a deeper level instead of purely using them for pleasure. You must take an assessment to see how you deal with the boredom. If you're falling into these level 1 happiness products like drinking, hooking up with random people, or even porn, you will not be able to be in a relationship and truly connect to your significant other to have a stable relationship. By masking the pain with these level 1 happiness materialistic things, you cannot improve yourself and be the person your future spouse deserves. On the other hand, if you do virtuous things like volunteering or helping your parents around the house and developing everlasting relationships, you become the person your future spouse deserves. The golden rule in this context pertains to how you would want your future spouse to behave now. Personally, and I'm sure many of you, wouldn't want your future husband or wife to be making out with other people now and practicing these false happinesses. Real love isn't about finding some perfect person that's going to complete us. Real love is about wanting to grow in perfection to become the person that they deserve for you to be. If you have already let these level 1 happiness products control your life and you now want to become a new you, you may go to the sacrament of reconciliation. During this time, you sit across a priest and you tell him all your sins, from the small ones to the big ones. After your confession, the priest gives you a set of prayers to do, and then he gives you a blessing that cleans you of your sins. If you have an honest confession, you are able to leave the church as pure as the day that you were baptized. If you have done things you regret in your life and don't want these things to be a stain on your future marriage, I recommend you go to reconciliation. Now here's my visual. It is a little comic I made to demonstrate the difference between a relationship that begins with the physical, which would be on the top row, and the bottom row is a relationship that starts through a friendship and a connection through the soul. In the top left frame, the tree is large and on the outside, but in the ground its roots are very shallow, while in the bottom frame, the tree is fairly small, but its roots are very long. The tree represents how fast the relationship has progressed, while the roots are representing the connection between the soul. On the outside, the relationship on top looks more impressive because it is going much faster, while the tree on the bottom frame is taking its time, slowly getting to know each other, and creating this friendship. In the second frame, there is a storm with very high winds and a thunderstorm that blow the tree over. The tree on the bottom is still strong and actually growing larger through the storm. The storm represents the hardships throughout a relationship. The tree on top didn't have the foundation or roots to the relationship, so when an inconvenience came, they couldn't find a reason to stay together. The bottom tree, on the other hand, had a deeper and stronger foundation and roots allowing for the tree to stay up and strong. In the final frame, there is no longer a tree, representing that the relationship is gone and the two people have separated. The tree on the bottom is now bigger than ever. This comic is to prove that taking your time to create a stable friendship and connection between the souls is how you keep a friendship and relationship alive. In conclusion, to have a healthy marriage, we must take our time getting to know our future significant other, understand the purpose of dating, and clean ourselves from sins that could harm our future marriage. This is how we don't scrape by. This is how we live through God and successfully make it to the sacrament of marriage with someone we love unconditionally. I now open the discussion to you guys. Does anyone have any questions?